You have many types of cost like your factory overhead, administration overhead, selling overhead, opening stock add, purchases add, closing stock we should minus. Under cost, how many types we have? Two types. What is the first one? Direct. What is the second one? Indirect. Carriage inward is very simple. Any transportation within the factory, we call it as carriage inward. A topic called cost accounting. So we are in chapter number 1, cost accounting. Now, under cost accounting, what you will learn? Under cost accounting, you have two topics. One will be complete your theory oriented, and the second topic will be your cost sheet problems. Now, as I told you, what is your passing mark? Your passing mark is 40. Out of 40 internals you can score, and your passing mark out of 80 is 24. Out of 80, how much you have to score? 24. Overall, you have to score 40 for passing. Now, as per this, first chapter, your cost accounting, it will cover minimum 30 to 35 marks. How much it will cover? Minimum 30 to 35. If you don't want to study anything in cost accounting, there are hardly 5 to 6 chapters are there. You don't want to study all 6 chapters. Just you want to pass. The logic is very simple. Your first chapter with your internals, you will get 50 marks. Again, I'll repeat. Your first chapter plus your internal marks will give you 50 marks. The first chapter will cover minimum 30 and your internals will come for 20. 30 plus 20, you can score 50. That's why please concentrate on first chapter. Now, we'll go for the first thing, your agenda. What is the agenda for the day? The agenda is very simple. We will not do any problems today, but we will understand complete cost sheet format. So, cost sheet format. Once you understood the cost sheet format, it is easy to do any number of problems. And what will be your homework? Very simple. Whatever we discussed today, the cost sheet, you have to work out. I'll give you 24 hours. Once you come for the next class, before your next session, you have to be thorough with this format. We'll go for the format. So before that, we will understand what is cost sheet. Now, cost sheet is a statement that shows the various components of total cost, production. It shows previous data for comparison. Now, so they will not ask you even 2 marks or 5 mark question. What is cost sheet? Just for understanding purpose, cost sheet is what? Under cost sheet, what you will understand means you will find out what is the exact cost incurred. Under that, you have many types of cost like your factory overhead, administration overhead, selling overhead. We'll go for that. I'll give you a brief introduction. How do we calculate your cost? There are two types of cost. One will be direct cost and second one will be indirect cost. Under cost, how many types we have? Two types. What is the first one? Direct. What is the second one? Indirect. Now, under direct cost, we have material, labor. So, under direct cost, what do we have? Material, labor, as well as direct expenses. What are the direct expenses? Like fuel, coal, gas, power. Those comes under carriage inward. All comes under direct expenses. What are the indirect expenses? We can also call as overheads. Under overheads, we will get factory overhead, then office and administration overhead, and the last one, selling and distribution overhead. Factory overhead, administration overhead, as well as selling and distribution overhead. Overhead itself, indirect expenditure. Under factory overhead, few things are there which are directly related to production, which comes under your direct expenses. You have to remember this. So as I told you, these are your direct expenses and these are your indirect expenses. Now, direct plus indirect is what? Your cost plus profit is equal to your sales. This is only your cost sheet format. I'll show you your cost sheet format, but the concept is very simple. All the direct expenses plus all the indirect expenses, you will get total cost. Now, for the total cost, you will add your profit. So, for example, your total cost is 140. You want profit of 20 rupees in each item. Then 140 plus 20, your sales will be 160. How much is your sale? Your sales is 160. Clear? Yes. This will be your cost sheet. Before we go to pro forma or format of cost sheet, you should understand this logic. Direct plus indirect. Under direct, we get material, labor, direct expenses. Under indirect, we get factory overhead, administration overhead, selling and distribution overhead. I'll explain you each and everything in the format. You should add these two. What you will get? Total cost. For total cost, what we will add? Your profit margin. If you add profit margin, you will get your selling price. In the few problems, you know the cost, you know the sales. How to find out profit? Sales minus cost is your profit. Very simple. We'll go to your actual format. So complete format I cannot fix in single sheet. Whenever you got your printed notes or soft copy notes, in that you will get complete format of cost sheet. Again, I'll repeat, complete format of cost sheet. I cannot fix it in single sheet. I can, but it is not visible. That's why in your notes, whatever notes sent, in that you have complete format. But in this, the whole format, I have breakdown into 3 to 4 slides. Now, this is only part of your cost sheet format. We have continuation for that. Now, this is the first thing. As I told you, what is the first thing? Your direct cost. So, this format is your direct cost. So, whatever direct cost we discussed, for that we have this format. Now, very simple. Direct material, if there are any. Opening stock of material. Add purchases. Add carriage inward. Less closing stock. What you will get? Raw material consumed, you will get. So, add direct wages, direct expenses, you will get your prime cost. This is your first step of your cost sheet. Remember, we start with direct material plus direct labor plus carriage inward. Along with that, we add if there are any opening stock and purchases. Now, opening stock and purchases we should add. If there are anything closing stock, we will minus. Opening stock add, purchases add, closing stock we should minus. Now, if you do everything, you will get raw material consumed. See, I have given 0.1 and 0.2. Direct material is 0.1. For direct material, which are the things you should add? Opening stock plus purchases plus carriage inward. Less closing stock. What you will get? Raw material consumed. Add direct wages, add direct expenses. You got prime cost. Now, what is carriage inward? Carriage inward is very simple. Any transportation within the factory, we call it as carriage inward. For example, few companies like BEML, your Infosys and all, if they manufacture or if they want to transfer the goods from one place to another place, they cannot carry and go. What they will do, they will travel with vehicle. So one department to another department, it is hardly half kilometer or 1 kilometer. They use small vehicles to carry goods from one department to another department, like your production department to packing department. Whatever transportation happened within the premises, we call it as carriage inward. Carry means what? Taking the goods. Inward means what? Inside the premises. Hope you understood. Now, without saying this, can you tell me the format? Yeah, close your eyes and you have to tell me. Up to prime cost, you have to tell me. What is that? First one is direct material plus opening stock plus purchases. So, once it is done with purchases, carriage inward. Up to this, it is done. Minus closing stock. What you will get? Raw material consumed. For this, you should add direct labor and direct expenses. You will get prime cost. So, if you add all the direct things, you will get prime cost. Hope you understood. This is your part 1. Remember, the whole cost sheet you cannot learn at a time. You have to break like this and you have to learn. This is the first part. We'll do continuation. The second part we will go. Factory expenses. I'll go back to your theory part. As I told you, your direct is over. Total of all this we call it as prime cost. Clear? Now we are doing indirect overhead or indirect expenses. Under indirect, what will come first? The first thing is factory overhead. We'll go for factory overhead. Later, administration overhead. After administration, selling and distribution overhead. We'll go one by one. Now, so what is the next part? There is a continuation of your first format. Remember, I don't have space, that's why it is breakdown. But in your paper, in your book, you have to write continuously. After prime cost, below that, you should write factory expenses. Now, we can also call it as factory overhead. We can also call it as factory overhead. Under this, what do we have? Indirect materials, indirect wages, factory rent. Very simple. In the examination, they will not ask you everything. Up to HI, JK, L we have. You will not have these many things. Out of this, you may get any 2 or 3 expenses. So, for the safer side, I have given everything so that remember. But in your examination, everything will not come. Just you have to be familiar with these words so that if they ask depreciation, you should write under factory expenses. If they give power and fuel, you should write under factory expenses. Clear? Yes. Now, indirect material, indirect wages, rent. So just you can assume that if you are running a company, in the factory, whatever expenses you incur, so you will pay for material, you will pay for workers' wages, you will pay rent and rates next, and you will pay for lighting and heating purpose, and you will pay for power and fuel, you will pay for repair and maintenance, you will pay for drawing office expenses. What is drawing office expenses? What they will do? So, drawing office expenses means they will be one person like engineer or somebody. So, Before you start your production, he will draw a chart like how the production process will go, how the designing will go, how the product design will go. All the thing planning or drawings will be done by some expert. For him, we have to pay some money. That is called as drawing office expenses. Hope you are clear. Next, research and experiment cost. What is research and experiment? Hope you know that every month or every 2 or 3 months in the every brand like Samsung, iPhone or whatever it may be, you will get new brands. Now, so if there is Samsung M30, so after 2 or 3 months M31, after 3 or 4 months M50, then M51. Like that, they will improve the product. Like Samsung 2, Samsung 3, Samsung 4, Note 4, Note 5, Note 6, Note 7, 8, 9, 10. Now we are under Samsung Note 20. So every 6 months or 1 year, there is a improvement. They will do research and they will invent new things. That is called research and experiment cost. Next one, depreciation of factory plant. Remember, if depreciation of office, it will not come. It will go under office and administration. If depreciation of delivery van, it will come under selling and distribution. But depreciation of factory plant, it will come under factory expenses. Then works stationery. What type of stationery? So it is not only your pen, pencil and all. Work stationery means some small tools. Or else few things for designing or for marking, you will use certain chalks. Those things we call it as works stationery. And factory, there are number of workers will be there. We have machines, we have power, everything. If something happened means company has to bear those losses. For the emergency purpose, for the safer purpose, company will go for insurance. That is called factory insurance. Hope you are clear. Next, works manager, like scrap value. So works manager salary, if there are anything, we will also consider. Along with that, we will less one thing. What is that? These and all, everything is expenses, but scrap is there. No, scrap value is income for you. What is scrap value? For example, I am manufacturing something, some metal or something I am manufacturing. While manufacturing, I'll get some damages. So I'll get some extra pieces. What I will do? Finally, all the damages, I'll dump it in one bag. I'll sell it to some people. So the actual value is 1000 rupees. For damaged thing, they will take it for 100 or 200 rupees. That is an extra income for us. So from the expenses, we have to minus income. That is called scrap value. Clear? So from the total expenses, if we earned any small income, we have to minus. What is that small income? That is called scrap value. Clear? Yes. Once you're done with everything, opening stock of work in progress minus closing stock of work in progress. Opening always add, closing always minus. In the first format, that is opening stock of raw material. I'll go back. This is opening stock of raw material. Closing stock of raw material. Remember, in the first stage, before prime cost, whatever stocks we take, that is opening stock of raw material, closing stock of raw material in the beginning. Once the production is started, so all the raw materials we are using now, we don't call this as raw material. We can call it as work in progress. It is not yet finished, but it is in progress. That's why opening stock of raw material minus closing stock of raw material. Now, so you have to start with prime cost. For prime cost, if you add everything, you will get work cost. What is the second answer you will get? Work cost. In the examination, the marks will be allotted by saying whether your prime cost answer is correct. They will give you some marks. Your work cost answer is correct. They will give you some marks. Now, don't worry about this amount, total cost or cost per unit. Those things will come later while doing problem. Just concentrate on first column. Now, your work cost is over. Next, what is the next one? Once your factory is over, what is the next one? Office and administration overhead. Under office and administration overhead, like very simple logic, if you are running a office, what kind of expenditure you will do? Like you will pay salary to your workers, you will pay rent of your office, you will pay for stationeries, you will pay for electricity, you will pay for postages like stamps and postal letters, you will pay for insurance, you will pay for electricity charges, and if you have furnitures, you will pay depreciation for that. So you will not pay, you will charge depreciation. Similarly, like you will pay tax. Everything comes under office and administration. But in the cost sheet, we will not consider tax. Why? Because still we have not sold the goods. Until you sold your goods, the tax will not be included. Now, so your telephone expenses like salary, rent, office lighting, printing, telephone, cleaning, office insurance, legal expenses. What do you mean by legal expenses? Like if there is any dispute, you will appoint a lawyer. So for lawyer, we pay some amount. That is called legal expenses. If you want to make it notary, if you want to make it authenticated any documents, you will go to the lawyer or you will go to the company secretary, CS. Those expenses, we call it as your legal expenses. Then depreciation of furniture. Remember, depreciation of machinery will go to factory. Depreciation of plant will go to factory. Depreciation of furniture will come under your, what is that? Office expenses. Now, depreciation. After everything is done, the answer is what? Cost of production. What is the first answer? Prime cost. What is the second answer? Work cost. What is the third answer? Cost of production. Up to this, any doubt? Hopefully, no doubt. Again, these things will not come in your examination. Out of this, any one or two things will come. Then, once you're done with this, opening stock of finished goods less closing stock of finished goods. In the first format, opening stock of raw material add minus closing stock of raw material over. In the second chart, opening stock of work in progress add minus closing stock of work in progress. Done. Now we are in the third stage, opening stock of finished goods minus closing stock of finished goods. The final answer, we call it as cost of goods sold. Cost of production and cost of goods sold. Your almost everything is done and small selling and distribution is pending. We'll go for that. Next, selling and distribution overhead. This will be your sixth one. Next, under selling and distribution overhead, for example, your production is over, your office is over. Now what will come? You have to sell your goods. If you want to sell your goods, what you will do? You will appoint sales manager. For him, you have to pay salary. You will take vehicles, delivery vans. You have to pay depreciation, repair of delivery van. You have to fill fuel for delivery van. Next, along with that, you will do some advertisement like marketing to promote the goods. So your marketing expenses, unsold goods, you will keep it in your godown. You have to pay rent for that godown. So publicity expenses, stickering, packing, everything comes under selling and distribution. So think it practically, so it will become easy. Now, in this, like salesman salary, sales office rent, advertising, free gift and sample. Like before you're selling, you will give some samples. That is called free sampling. Sales promotion expenses, packing charges, demonstration expenses, showroom rent, commission on sales, traveling, warehouse. Warehouse means what? Go down. Next, repair and delivery van, depreciation of delivery van. These are your expenses. Then, so finally you will get carriage outward. So carriage inward already we took in the direct expenses. Carriage outward means what? Transportation from one shop to another shop. We call it as carriage outward. Going to the retailer, going to the wholesaler, from the factory, we call it as carriage outward. Transportation outside the premises, we call it as carriage outward. Transportation within the premises, we call it as carriage inward. Hope you're clear. Now, everything is done means your final answer, we call it as cost of sales. What is your final answer? Cost of sales. Now, cost of sales is done. Add profit, you will get sales. If there is a loss, we will minus that. So, your final answer will be your cost sheet. Hope you understood. This is all about your cost sheet format. I'll come back. So, whatever I explained you. So, direct, these are the things. Indirect, factory administration, selling. So, if you add both, you will get total cost. If you add profit, you will get sales. I'll go out of the screen. I'll show each slides. You can take screenshot. So, this will be your agenda. There is a meaning of your cost sheet. Don't worry, the meaning will not come in your examination. And this will be pro forma. Pro forma means the format. So as I told you, there is a first step up to prime cost. Then this will be your factory expenses. Write down all the factory. Add opening work in progress minus closing work in progress. And this is your office overhead or office expenses. Add all office related expenses. You will get cost of production. For that, you add opening finished goods minus closing finished goods. You will get cost of goods sold. Then, for that, if you add all the selling and distribution, you will get cost of sales. So, if you are selling this particular goods for profit, then it will be profit. You have to add. If you are selling this particular goods for loss, so you have to minus that. Finally, you will come up with your sales. These three columns, forget about this. We'll come back later while doing problem. So, your homework is very simple. So, it is my request so that you have to thoroughly go through the format. If you don't go through the format, it will be waste of time while doing problem. Why? Because unless you know the format, everything will be mess for you. Remember, come up with the format. You should be ready to write complete format without seeing the answer, so that you are done with your cost sheet. And also I told you there is a very important topic, RS chapter. Your passing mark you can get from this chapter. Thank you.